Hi, welcome back. So, this is the section 7 of our 7 section video course on Tableau. In this section, we will talk about how to publish and share our Tableau work that we have been developing over the last 6 sections. So, in order to publish and share your work, in this 6 sections, we have been using the Superstore dataset that was provided to us by Tableau. But in order to publish some new data elements, you would need to identify topics that interest you. It depends on the background you're coming from. For example, if you're from hospital background, you might think about analyzing the data that you have through patients and all of those. If you're coming from financial background, you might be interested in how the data or how the debt ratio or different metrics around that would be. If you are coming from mathematical background, you might be interested in graphs and how different variables are connected to each other. If you're coming from let's say uh, background of Facebook or something like that, you might be interested in how things might figure out in future. If you're from marketing, you might be really interested in where people are really spending their money and stuff like that. So let's look at what are the different topics that might interest you. Then the second thing is you need to understand the data that you are trying to analyze. So what I mean by data is, for example, when we are when we were trying to analyze the data for the Superstore data set, we were able to calculate new metrics like profit ratio, average projections, and something like that. So you would need to really understand what is your data, because you need to now come up with building those new metrics. So that would be a key element. So before even you start analyzing or visualizing your data, I would suggest spend some time on understanding the data and kind of looking for what you are looking for in it. So let's now talk about what we really covered in our previous sections. We learned Tableau skills. In the skills, we started off with basic graphing, and then we introduced different types of graphs, and then we kind of were able to explore a lot of different ways we can visualize the data in Tableau. Then in our last section of section 6, we were able to test our knowledge using Tableau certification questions. So in these questions, we were able to kind of look at the data and kind of analyze whether it was right or wrong, and then we were able to match those with the answers we had. So that kind of gave us a view that, or gave us a test that we were in line with what Tableau was expecting for us to complete that first level of certification. So in previous sections until now, we were very good at knowing the concepts of analyzing how to analyze the data. We had one sample set initially given by Tableau. Then for the testing purposes, they had a different data set which we used. But the big thing here is we learned all the skills, but now it's the time to start applying all those skills. So, in this section, we are going to try to talk about what are the different data sets that are available out there on the market, and how you can view all of those data sets. What are the different I will try to give you a few examples that I normally use to do some analysis. Then we will be talking about creating some visualizations on what would be the basically the best visualizations that we need to use to do these visualizations. And then we will talk about how to share your visualization and what are the different options we have. So the first piece here is to create visualizations. We will need to talk about to first part is to locate the data set. That's what I'm going to talk about, where I said I will show you how to connect to different data sets. The second piece is to create the visualization, the actual time where you understand the data and create the visualization. And the third part is where you actually share your visualization with your potential customers or potential employers. These days, a lot of Tableau work needs link in the profile or somewhere so that the actual employer can look at those profiles and know how much depth of knowledge you have, because there are a lot of publicly available data sets out there. I would recommend you to definitely go and have a look at the different data sets that are available. So coming to choosing the data, there is lot of data that is available in public domains today. So what do I mean by public domains? There are a lot of data elements that are available, like data.gov is a really good example. So let me show you really quick how some of the really amazing data sets that are available, like data.gov is one really good place where you can find a lot of really good amount of data. So as you can see here, there are a lot of agreed topics that you can browse. For example, you can have agriculture, business, climate data, and local government data. You can also have public safety research, some of the research data that you are really interested in. Or from, for example, if you click on education, you have a lot of bullying rates drop, or you can basically see teamwork plus data. So you can basically have a lot of the amount of data that is basically used here. So you can basically view the data set. You can just directly click on here to see at a high level what is a data set we are going to really view at. For example, in this case, we can talk about what is I think the file contains directory information. So it is basically different sets of data that you have, and different. So you can use this data, county name and stuff, and you can use all of this data and plot different set of graphs, or you can do different analysis. For example, climate is another really good example. So here you can basically get all the climate information from different places in United States. Similarly, whichever place you are on the globe, in India or anywhere else, you basically have lot of public amount information that you have. For example, you might know, going to the finance page, you have small business lending data that is open. So this is pretty interesting. So if you click on that, you have another bunch of set of data that you can get, which talk about like construction price indexes and FDIC failed bank list. So this is another really great example for you to kind of at a high level. And if you see here, they talk about what is the type of different types of data that they have. So you can basically say download, and basically what it will do is it will download the list of banks that have failed, and then you can open it up in Excel, and then kind of look at those banks that were closed. And if you can see how many banks have been closed over a period of time, you can try to predict where the banks are being closed and stuff like that. So this is one real good place, data.gov. Or for example, you can even Google up information. For example, if you want to analyze a given stock or something like that, then you can go ahead and say Yahoo Finance. For example, you want to Apple stock, you want to get that data, you can just click Yahoo Finance, Yahoo stock, and you can go here. It basically provides you a link. And if you go to historical prices, you can look at the historical prices of Yahoo, and then you can basically download all of these prices into a CSV. So if you can see here, you can have this option of download. So you can download this and do some graphing on how the price of the stock has been varying over a long period of time. So these are really good examples on how to look at the data and how to visualize the data. So I gave a few examples. I will provide you with more details on how to some other places that I normally go for. I do a lot of googling before I get up with some data. So that I would suggest you to, as I said earlier, identify something that interests you, because you'll have more knowledge there. So one example I give out in most of my lectures is, some of my co-workers do a lot of cycling. So they have that information stored on the cloud. So they download it and kind of do some analytics on it to see which is the areas they can improve. And that is really good. Even today, a lot of sports use data analytics to see which are the areas the players can improve. So that is what interests my co-workers. I would leave up to you what interests you. So the other example, as I told, is governance, where we went and looked at some of the information that we can do. And the other big thing is the format in which you get the data. As you know, Tableau is pretty strong on connecting to different formats. In this case, we were only looking at Excel, but it can literally connect to any type of format of data as long as it has something out there in a standard format. As long even it can connect to big data, so that is really big. So it can literally connect to any data source that is available out there. So Tableau will be really helpful to connect you to any other format. So in case you are stuck up with connecting data with any format, just let me know, and or Grey Campus, and I can definitely help you there. So that is what with the selecting your data. Now let's talk about creating the visualization. So you import the data set that you really did, and then you create visualizations. The depending on more of the data you have, you can basically create a workbook, and you can share it out. And the other big thing that we have is cleaning up messy data. So I'm going to talk about it in the next video in detail. I'm going to take an example and show you how to clean up some messy data. Always the data is not in the format that you want. For example, in our superstore, the first line itself had the header, and then we had all the data neatly and nicely available. But in real world, that might not be the scenario. So we will talk about one example that we will be looking at, and going through how to clean the data. And then you can basically save all of these results to Tableau public, so that you can just use that link in your profile, either LinkedIn or wherever you publish your profile, so that everyone can view that Tableau profile that you have and look at different visualizations that you have. That is really useful, and that kind of gives the employer more confidence, because he knows you really worked on it, and he knows that okay, you are really capable of doing much detail. So once you are done with your visualization, the next step is to share your work. So I would strongly recommend you having a LinkedIn profile where you have all of this. And then we have a Tableau Reddit link. So the link is already provided there. So this, if you can click on this link, and it will basically, you can basically go to that link. You can, and then you have the dataset beautiful link. So I can show you those quickly. You can just type it in Google. You can say Tableau Reddit, and it basically has lot of visualizations and news that is available. So for example, you have all of these different how do you look up tables. For example, you can just click on that, and you can see lot of answers around there. So this is pretty powerful way where you can have questions answered by the big user community. So this is very active. So I would suggest, in case you're stuck somewhere, you can definitely go here. The other link is where the other link that I was talking to you about was the data is beautiful. This is where in Reddit itself. So this is where they did lot of data is beautiful. This is where you do lot of people have done some analytical work and published some data. For example, yesterday England decided to exit the European Union. So you have some kind of analysis that someone put in there. So these are all different kinds of way people publish, and I would say you can basically do lot of analysis using that. So you can have some of the analytics, for example, that they used is all of this map behind the scene is coming from Tableau. So this is another way. Data is beautiful in Reddit is one of the great tools you can go and publish. The other good thing is if you think your work is really good and you have something out there and you would like to publish it to the Viz of the day. If you remember, we talked about Viz of the day in our earlier section. So you can send whatever workbook you have saved on the Tableau public to Tableau public at tablewsoftware.com, and if yours is selected, that would be really nice on your part. So you can even publish that in your resume, and it would talk really well. And I would also really encourage you to send me the links of whatever you guys publish, so that it helps me to see where you guys are going, and also helps me and Grey Campus structure our sessions accordingly in case there is something we need to improve on. That would be really good. So that's it with this course, with this piece of the course, and we will talk. The only thing that is remaining at this point is handling missing data. So I will talk about handling missing data in the next video.